I'm a believer that this team's going to win the national championship. Something stupid is coming out of his mouth. I don't know. Maybe it's just my age. He needs his vote pulled immediately. And of course, yes, a season like this has to have a name. Let's talk about something good about Justin Freck. What are you doing? Season of dreams. Ohio State, my guys, are either the best or the second best program in the history of college football. This guy is a bonehead. They love him. I question your judgment as an adult. I really do. I was a total hater. I know that for a fact, and I just don't get it. Get us back our sleeves and say, bring me that. That's the one I want. Hey, welcome into Juckonbucks on a Friday. We got a Juck and Chris Friday playoff edition. KD, what's up, brother?
Dude, not much. Just happy it's finally here. This has felt like the slowest week ever. It feels like, I keep telling Zach this. I said this to Zach every day, with exception of Monday. This feels like the week before Christmas break. All I want to do is get to Christmas. And for me, Christmas is hopefully Saturday. Hopefully it's a good present. And the week it's just been dragging. I'm ready for some playoff football, though.
I'm with you. It's felt like several weeks. And finally, we got a game tonight. We got Notre Dame, Indiana, the priciest ticket of all of these games. Yeah. Tomorrow, start the day off with SMU at Penn State. Our buddy Joel Klatt weighed in on that.
In a noon whiteout. Wait, what? I was told reliably that couldn't happen. Lo and behold, here we are.
What a putz, dude.
I was told reliably that couldn't happen.
He's such a putz. So we got that game. Then we go to Clemson at Texas for the second game in the finale, the grand finale of them all, the last game of the weekend. Tennessee coming into Ohio State. We're going to hit on all three of those games, but Chris, it's taken me a while to get out of the funk from the game. It's not totally out of me until I see, I don't think, the first play of the game tomorrow, but I'm ready, man. I'm fired up. These Tennessee fans have helped me get fired up. What's your attitude? What's your mood? What are you feeling heading into the game?
It's like, when you burn something in the kitchen, Juck, and you can't get the smell out of the kitchen. Like, yeah. It just smells burnt. And we light a candle in there, light 2 candles in there. Really, the smell's not going to fully at least go away to the point until you cook the next meal in there. It just happens that our next meal is like 3 weeks removed from when we cook. That's what it is. So, right now, a lot of negativity around the program, a lot of negativity, of course, because you lost your rival 4 straight times. But I'm glad that Ohio State has a chance to kind of end the season or start this new season on a higher note, I guess. Like, one of the things that sucked about last year is you lose to Michigan, then you lose to Missouri, and then you just sit with it the whole offseason. Ohio State fans, I'm the Ohio State fan. If Ohio State wins this game, wins the Oregon game, then I can feel really good going into the offseason, no matter what happens after that.
Absolutely. When we talk about huge games, like this game's got it all, dude. Mm-hmm. Huge playoff game. We got the new lights. They're going for the crazy atmosphere, and I think that we're going to see some really cool stuff. Tomorrow night, you got all the trash talk about Ohio State and the SEC record. I had a guy tell me yesterday, and he was serious. He believes that Vanderbilt, Kentucky, the Mississippi States of the world, all better programs than Ohio State because of Ohio State's 2-13 record in the postseason against the SEC. And it's stuff like that. It just drives me insane. Like, they're brainwashed to believe that. And the Bucks got to go out and prove it, though. Like, you can't run away from that 2-13 record. You got to go prove it. The consequences of this game, the outcome of this game, first primetime playoff game, like all eyes in the country on Ohio State. Like, everything is here for an instant classic.
Yeah. No, I did a show with a Tennessee fan a couple days ago, and I had to walk my guy Smokey through it because they talk about the Ohio State's record versus the SEC, and I had to walk them through why Penn State was a better team this year than Alabama. And at first there was a lot of pushback. Because obviously, down there, the SEC bias is so strong, and everyone's been drinking the Nick Saban Kool-Aid for so long. But honestly, once we sat down, talked, and went through it, at the end of it, it was Penn State is better than Bama this year. And it's I feel like the only way to change SEC fans' mind about this is to sit down with them each one by one and walk them through it. And that's what I had to do. Because, obviously, people like to reference, Ryan Day's record versus the SEC, but it's only been against the SEC's best.
That's just it, man. And even when we go back through the bowl games throughout the years, Ohio State is matching up against an equal caliber, but it was actually one step up. Like the way the bowl tie-ins worked, if you weren't
Right.
at the very top, Ohio State was going one notch up. And I'm not making excuses, but they've not been like playing down to the dregs of the SEC
Yeah,
and
it's
lose.
just like nuance. Like people can't
Yeah.
sit here and tell me about Mississippi State and how if they would give Ohio State a game if they were in the SEC, and it's like, wait, I saw you guys get blown out by Toledo.
Toledo, right?
I'm not going for. I mean, I'm really, Juck. I'm not even going for the Bama conversation that people have been trying to have with me for the last couple of weeks because okay, cool, like you guys beat Georgia, but you guys also like got blown out by Oklahoma, a newcomer.
Yeah,
like I don't know. I think the conferences are much closer than people like to act or pretend. But for me, Big Ten this year was the better conference. And honestly, like people want to ignore, like, if we want to talk about conference biases and like conference titles and stuff like that, I mean, shoot, the national title last year was 2 Big Ten teams.
Sure was.
And
sure was.
We don't to talk about that at all. And Washington came into the conference and didn't run through everybody and didn't run through one of the top dogs like OU did to Alabama. So
that's right. That's right. When I look at this game and what a win means, I feel like, in a week, all next week, we could be talking potentially about the Rose Bowl in a rematch against Oregon. And a win here would be a huge step in this coaching staff kind of winning back the pulse of the fan base. I know a lot of people don't feel like that yet. A lot of people very negative. I've talked to them for 3 weeks. You have too. And they're just totally out. But I think that seeing a win, seeing the Buckeyes in the shoe, beating this team, and they're supposed to beat this team. The 7-point favorite. They should beat this team. But just seeing them go out and getting it done might change the tenor a whole lot as we head into next week, talking about Oregon, talking about that rematch, and how huge would that be? They got to get it done. But I think they can get a lot of buy-in back right here. What do you think?
I mean, I think it absolutely does. Like right now, the criticism around Ryan Day is like losing big games. And I think you can't continue to have that conversation if he beats Tennessee. At least kind of like within the fan base, it might be like the unifying effort. Because right now, there is about 20% of the fan base, season over, we're not beating Tennessee. The rest of them are feeling bad about Michigan, but thinking we can beat Tennessee. And then there's that portion that thinks that it's just a Michigan problem and Ohio State is talented enough to win a national title if Ryan Day doesn't get in the way. So I think a win here and Ryan Day looking like the Ryan Day that we have, come to like in the postseason will be really, really important. But there's like that hint, that wondering, are we going to get the very tightened up Ryan Day that does not allow this team to go in? Because that's what it is. Like this team is good enough to win the whole thing. And they lost the Michigan game because of the coaching staff, because of Ryan Day.
It's true. It's true. I've been trying for the last couple of days, KD, to encourage as many people as I can to get to this game, because we remember the Notre Dame game a couple of years ago when they hosted Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Tons of Georgia folks. The color contrast, it popped like crazy.
Right.
And we all collectively as college football fans roasted Notre Dame like hard.
Made fun of them.
Still remember the game, right?
Yep.
And I feel like, knowing the tenor of the fan base after the Michigan game, that Ohio State's administration potentially really got caught with their pants down, because what did Notre Dame do the following year? Ohio State came in there. They made a concerted effort to make sure Ohio State fans could not get those tickets. They did a great job. They did a great job keeping us out. The lesson wasn't learned from that. And I do think there are going to be a whole lot of Tennessee fans at this game. I don't know what the number is, man. And part of me is going to the game because I got to get my eyes on this. I cannot possibly see 35,000 opposing fans in the horseshoe of any fan base.
So I keep hearing the number 17,000 is a pretty good estimate. But I'm not worried about the trolling pictures because orange is too close to red with those lights. Like with the Notre Dame Georgia thing, they took the overhead shot and there was a lot of red in that bad boy, because red is going to contrast with that gold and with that blue. But red to orange with the red out and with the red lights, brother, it's not going to look like a single Tennessee fan unless they coordinate and they all wear white.
Yeah, you're right. If I was them, I would have tried to do that, because they know we're all going to be in red and their feminine orange can kind of blend in. But you got a question, KD, from ArcBuck. Was that on a podcast, the Penn State argument?
Yeah, it was. That was on a Category 6 podcast. It was very unhinged, though. I was screaming, Juck. It wasn't a calm conversation.
Oh, we're all going to want to hear on the Category 6 podcast. That's a Miami podcast, right?
Yeah, it was a Miami podcast, and they brought in the one of the guys from the Tennessee side of things that covers high school football and also Tennessee football, and it was a screaming match.
All right.
But I'll just, I'll just apologize for cussing right now. I was not happy.
So, like, what irritates me the most about this game, and I know we're going to get trolled because there's a lot of Tennessee fans that are going to make it in. There are reasons why this is happening, and we all know them. Like, a lot of people holding back their money to see, like, look, the Bucs are going to have to show me, and if they do, I'm going to go to the Rose Bowl. Like, I'm bought in. A lot of people can't go because of the cold. Like, you automatically wipe out a lot of older folks, a lot of women, a lot of children. Like, you just wipe out a lot of the pool alone. It's going to be like 19 degrees. Some people are just flat out.
I got offered a ticket. I got offered a ticket on the way in today. And I was like, absolutely not. I do not sit in the cold. I will not be loud. I will be very miserable.
Man, KD and my wife Nina, man, the same spiel. I got the same spiel.
Women, children, and Chris, we're not going.
But no, and it's true. But a lot of people, nobody cares about that, right? Nobody cares. We got to get to the game, bro. We got to get to the game. And I just want to shout out right now. Yesterday, this gentleman here, Gabriel Sherrock, bought his tickets after watching my show, as did Tyler Jonas. So shout out to those two dudes. True Buckeyes. You guys are great. But we got to get to the game, man. We can't be embarrassed on a national stage. And there is nuance to this. But they're going to troll us mercilessly if there's a ton of Tennessee fans.
No, absolutely. Really, I mean, they're ready. I mean, there's that plan. They want to tear down the goalposts.
Oh man, like they've been trolling so hard.
Yeah.
And the Apple Maps, Neyland North, the Wikipedia name, they changed it to Neyland North. Like, they've done a good job. And I almost feel bad for them because they're over here trying to engage so hard with us. And they're not getting what they want because we've got a civil war going on.
Literally, my exact thing. Like, they want to fight with us so bad, but it's like normally we would absolutely engage. But we got y'all are trying to get us to come outside and fight. Our house is on fire. We're not going outside. We're not going to go fight. The house is on fire. We're trying to put the fire on the kitchen right now.
It's too funny, man. It really is. I mean, but the circumstances around this game are so odd, and it's so hugely consequential. We got a home playoff game, a 10-2 regular season that included 2 top 5 wins that were great. Like, all season, I was thinking national championship. You lose that game, and the confidence in the way you lost the game with the coaching staff has just plummeted. But we go into this game tomorrow. I feel confident in these players. I feel confident that we've seen 12 games and 11 of them looked one way. One of them looked the other way. We're not going to see that one. We're going to see those other 11. And I think they got something coming, man. I really do.
Dude, I have talked myself into us big, Juck. Like, I think we got this one. I think, honestly, the battle through adversity, the being able to lose to Michigan and redeem yourself, a lot of the noise around this team. And I think I like how quiet practice reports have been. It feels like everybody's really locked in. Not a ton of practice reports. Not a lot of stuff's getting out there. This feels like the lead up before the Georgia game, which of course we lost because we tightened up late, but it has that kind of feel to it. Like, this could be a team on a mission. And while they can't right all of their wrongs, they can definitely right some of them with a win over Tennessee this week.
Absolutely. Like, it starts here. And
it starts here. Yeah. The healing begins here. It's like we have a big gash. We can put the first stitch in here. Like, is it going to be a scar? Absolutely. But we can start to close this wound up a little bit.
At the same time, on the other end of things, should you go out and lose this game in potentially an embarrassing fashion, which is on the table, it could happen.
It absolutely is.
Do you think the regime is retained? I'm kind of the opinion they're coming back regardless. What are your thoughts on that?
If we lose this game and you do not like Ohio State negativity, unfollow DG. But because if this game gets lost, bro's going to push the red button and he's going to be right about a lot of things.
For sure.
But I don't even want to think about what an offseason. If we lose this game,
That's just it. The offseason, bro.
Yeah,
When
this
you
will
take
be
away hope, like hope will be.
It'll be shattered. Like that is the red button pusher. Like if you lose this game, and if you lose this game and your offense looks as putrid as it did again, I don't know how you go into next season with any kind of confidence. I don't know how you handle the offseason. And honestly, if we lose bad this game and the staff gets retained, like get ready for, I think, a portal exodus and a lot of finger pointing. And it's going to be a miserable, miserable offseason if we lose this game.
What you need in the offseason is hope for the future. Like that's the goal. You want the fan base having hope for the future. And when if you lose this game and this is how it ends for this team that we talked about all offseason, the whole country did, trying to buy a national championship, and we fought back against that. But, it's an expensive roster. You got some great pieces. You recruited well. You were able to retain all your seniors. You had everything in place, man. You had your dream team coaching staff. You handpicked them. You paid the staff the most in the country. It was the best money could buy. And if you get a first-round exodus against an SEC team for the third year in a row, lose to your rival for the fourth year in a row, at that point, there's a whole lot of people saying that the program under Ryan Day is fraudulent, and there is no hope leading into, by the way, an opening game against Texas coming in, a top 5 SEC team again next year. Like, I don't even want to do the show, bro. Like, I don't even want to do this show every day if that's the case.
Well, honestly, like I think if we lose this game, Chuck, I think that my offseason approach is going to be, well, Ohio State has hit its ceiling, and for them to win a title, they're going to have to get really lucky and face a weak field. That's I think where I would go. I do want to reference something you said before, or make note. I do think that Justin Fry is gone next year. I think he's not the offensive line coach next year. Like, I know we talked about like the staff being attacked.
Yeah.
I think he goes if they lose this game.
If they lose, I think he's gone regardless.
Especially if they lose. I think he's likely gone regardless, because Ryan Day does the thing where he never fires coaches.
Lets it expire. Yeah, lets him run out, and it's over.
And Justin Fries is about to run out.
Yeah,
and I think that could be part of the reason the recruiting has almost felt like it's kind of lacked effort, which would make sense. It's human nature. I wouldn't blame him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the pushback with some people saying, oh, well, if he would just recruit during this period, he would be back next year. And it's like, okay. I also heard the same argument for Tony Alford. Tony Alford went in and landed Q and still didn't get an extension. So
that's true. Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, I think Fry's up out of here. So
did you hear Day's interview with Dom Taberi earlier in the week?
I did.
Okay, so that one was really odd to me. It was he seemed really edgy. It's just like he couldn't hide it, and obviously he was still on edge from the game. But I saw him in the press conferences on Monday and Wednesday, seemed to be his normal self. And I guess what I was worried about him choking up, like letting Michigan roll into this game.
Yeah,
I'm not as worried about it now after seeing him and hearing him the other day. How are you feeling about that?
I was very concerned early in the week. I talked to a decent amount of people. It sounds like there was some of that concern, or maybe he wasn't all the way there at some point after the Michigan game, which makes a ton of sense. But it sounds like every one of the assistants kind of upped the intensity kind of while Ryan Day got it back together from what I've been able to gather. So I've heard Zach talk about this a little bit. Like after Urban Meyer lost to Michigan State, he was dejected for that whole week. And the staff raised the intensity without him being there, kind of down a coach, and kind of put him back together to get him ready. And then obviously they went and blew out Michigan and they blew out Notre Dame. I think this could be a similar situation because time is a flat circle and humans mirror each other. And I think that similarly to that, I guess.
When we talk about this Tennessee offense, Dylan Sampson, obviously an excellent running back. And as he goes, their offense is going to go. Georgia held him to 100 yards. In that Georgia-Tennessee game, which I just rewatched this week on the coaches, all 22 in the coaches' room on Menace to Sports. You guys should check that out. It's awesome. They bottled him up, dude. They bottled him up 100 yards. And I just feel like when the Buckeyes want to shut down somebody's run game, they can. I think they can do the same thing with Samson.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. And honestly, like I think that they would be okay with Nico, with this game being in Nico's hands. I think priority one is don't let Samson kill you and force Nico to kill you. And that's how teams have had success against Tennessee all year. I don't know if you know this, Chuck, but in the SEC, there's only one game this year, or 2 games this year, excuse me, where Nico has more than 1 touchdown pass.
That's not so hot, bud. That's not so hot. Look, but the dude's talented, but
he's talented. He's talented, and he's a famous name because of the recruiting. But if we take the name away, if I were to sit here and tell you Ohio State's going to face a quarterback that only twice in the entire SEC schedule threw for more than 1 touchdown pass, those 2 games being Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. That's it. So when I see that stat, I'm like, okay, like I am absolutely okay with loading the box and forcing Nico to go make a play or 2 or even more. And if Nico throws for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns and we loaded the box and stop Samson, okay, like if they have to win that way, awesome. Because I don't think they can win. I think the more likely thing is, like, what's path for victory for Tennessee would be probably to get Samson to that 150 mark and multiple touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And if you limit that, I think this team becomes one-dimensional and they won't be able to really get it going.
My thoughts all week exactly align with you. You've got to put this in Nico's hands. You got to take away Samson. Make that young kid in this environment, which I don't care. Look, playing on the road in Tennessee's been terrible. They've had 3 true road games. Yeah. Vanderbilt, I'm not counting. It was an all Tennessee crowd. Right. 3 true road games. They're 1-2 in those 3 road games. They're coming into the shoe. Playing on the road's tough. It's more about just the crowd, whether you got 30,000 of your friends. There's still 70,000 Ohio State fans, and you're on the road. In the playoffs at night, it's a big spot for a young dude who is, he's not terribly consistent, got a big arm. He can run a bit. Man, dude, this kid's run for 300 and some yards, and Will Howard's run for 120. That blows my mind.
Crazy, man. Remember the comment before the year that Will Howard didn't come here to run the football?
I do, and then I remember them changing their tune when Chip, like they had press conference and they did their little lightning rounds, and there was one where it was Chip and it was Will, and they went on and on. And I talked to Dylan the day after, and I was like, Dylan, what's the one takeaway from those 2 press conferences from those 2 guys with you? We both had the same, like, wow, they're about to run this ball a lot, and we've seen 120 yards rushing out of Will Howard all year, 130. And dude, that just blows my mind. Like, will we see that?
He had 2 70-yard runs last year. Those 2 runs would almost equal his total this year.
Yes. That's what blows my mind. Like, are we going to see it? Like, it's got to be all systems go here for this, right?
I certainly hope so.
We're in the playoffs, man. Let this kid get out there and go. Like, it's all on the line.
Yeah, no, it is all on the line. And if they're not willing to open this thing up, then that'll speak volumes about where our coach is mentally. Because it's got to be full systems go, lay it all on the line. Like I can get it. Like against Northwestern, don't want to run him, don't want to get him hurt. Mm-hmm. But like now it's do or go home.
Tempo, obviously, for this Tennessee offense can be a killer. The Buckeyes have practiced for it all week. Jim Knowles was describing the things that they were doing, practicing for it, having the guys kind of turn their backs to the play and then having to turn around immediately to get react and line up and get their calls. When we look at the last time we dealt with, talented athletes playing with some tempo, we can go back to Oregon in a game that the Bucks did not do so hot towards the end of the game, lining up, getting the calls in, getting ready to go. And you would think, all right, we've learned from that experience, and they did. They implemented a lot of different changes with pressure. But coming out of that Oregon game, I think when we looked at the defensive linemen, the big thought was, look, these guys definitely going to need to rotate more if you're in that situation. Again, this was Jim Knowles earlier in the week. I want your thoughts on this.
Is there any thought, I mean, you play, say, Iowa, and the backups get 20, 30 plays, but then you get in these quote-unquote big games, and the other players don't play at all. Just, is there a thought to mix that up going into the playoff?
You have to, I think as a coordinator, you have to, and I'm sure Coach Day believes this too. You have to trust your coaches. I mean, Coach Johnson's been doing this a long time. There's no one else we would want to make those decisions. So, I think there's a natural tendency of coaches. I've been around a while that, when times are tight, to go with those guys who have been in those situations. We'd always like to play as many guys as possible, but those decisions happen at the moment, and I know, and I think everybody in this room and all our fans know that Coach Jay is going to make the best decisions for the team and the program.
That tightening up that he's talking about there is exactly why you need to put this in place ahead of time. But what are your thoughts when you hear that?
I have a tough time reading Jim Knowles, but I tend to agree with that sentiment. I mean, like, how much does the tempo worry you, Jack? We'll start there.
A lot when it comes to this particular aspect of it. When we saw those guys being so gassed at the end of that game, they couldn't even line up.
Yeah.
The defensive line particularly.
I worry about it because I know we don't rotate. And so I'm worried about the amount of plays that they'll be able to fit in over the course of a game. Like, I think our guys are probably good for between like 30 and 40 snaps. And then you start to see them getting really gassed after that. And we don't rotate on the D-lines. That's where my head goes the whole time I listen to Jim Knowles and him talk about kind of, trusting Larry, I guess. But I don't know whose call it is. I don't know if it's Larry or Ryan that is the reason that things don't rotate.
Buddy, if we see a similar thing with the defensive line, gassed and not being able to line up towards the end of this game, exactly as we saw in Oregon, and there was no change made here, when we know that you've got starting caliber backups in Kenyatta and Caden Curry and Caden McDonald, like Edric Houston, I'd put in there too, even though he's a freshman. But when we know that, like, dude, there's going to be hell to pay the piper, bud. Like God help him if that's the case.
I mean, Juck, I know the lining up thing is a part of it, but also like the ability to tackle it goes
for sure. For sure.
I mean, if you look at the Oregon and all three Michigan losses, Ohio State has not forced a punt in the fourth quarter one time.
Yeah.
Because it's going to rotate, and like you get runs like the Mullings run when he's played like this is his 20th carry, and you've got guys out there for 60 snaps that can't wrap up because they're tired at that point.
Absolutely. Through two press conferences this week, it sounds like the plan on the offensive line is Luke Montgomery at left guard, Tegra at right guard, Austin Saraveld in some form of rotation between the two. And a lot of people are very bothered by the thought of rotating on the offensive line in a game like this. I feel like this is more not really going to play out as a rotating in and out, but that they're trying all three of these guys and they're going to go with the two that are getting it done, the two that they feel most confident with when they start playing football. What are your thoughts when you hear that? What if I'm wrong and they actually are rotating the whole game? Like, what are your thoughts about all that?
It's like that's like real triple option tendencies, to rotate guys out because everything's like a downhill run play. Obviously, like you guys know, I love Paul Johnson and Georgia Tech, and they did a lot of the rotating stuff with running backs, especially too. Like everybody rotated it on Paul Johnson's offense because it is so taxing on your body. But I hope there's no way they rotate linemen like during the game. I think you have to let guys get a feel for it. Let guys hit a couple times. If they rotate, I'm going to be terrified, but I don't think they will either. I think that Ryan Day was a little bit misleading with that sentence when he said it.
He was very he kind of left it up to interpretation.
Yeah, and, very very open-ended statement.
Yeah. And regarding Luke Montgomery, who is obviously Luke was a very highly rated recruit, an Ohio kid. I think I've felt all year like I would have liked to seen him get a shot earlier. I think it's really odd that he's getting a shot now in a playoff game for the first time ever, if in fact he does start, which I think he's going to. And Dylan Davis asked him, has anything changed basically that has led to this? And he's like, no, I mean, just kind of progressively gotten better. But I think it speaks to a bit of a desperation feel when it comes to that guard play. Like if you're starting a guy who's not started before ever in a playoff game, it just feels kind of desperate, doesn't it?
It does. It does feel a little bit desperate, and I worry that because of how they've handled Luke Montgomery, they kind of shot his confidence. Because remember last year, he was a guy that was considered like the next best offensive lineman. I mean, shoot, we saw him early in games, and then made a mistake along the way somewhere and got banished. I mean, remember he was in conversation to be a starting tackle last year, and now it took 3 or 4 iterations of this offensive line for him to even get a shot, and then his only shot being in the playoff game. It feels like desperation. Feels like, okay, we know he's talented, but he's been making some mistakes. Let's just hope that his talent shines through during this game. And also, it speaks poorly on some of the other offensive guards that have really gotten several shots this year.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at in spring practice, Luke Montgomery was right guard 1 for 11 of the 12 practices, and then we end up with Tegra, who against lesser competition, he looked really good this year. As the competition got better, it's been worse and worse and worse. And if
Chuck,
anybody,
there's a moment in all 22, I can't remember what game it was. I can't get it out of my head. The whole offensive line's going that way, and Tegra's running that way. Just ran the wrong way on the run play. Like, that is my lasting image of Tegra.
Yeah, it's not been good, bud. It's not been good. But this offensive line, the last time we saw them, they were going against, they were put in a position to not really do what they do best, and trying to run the ball against a strong interior. That's not what they're going to do best ever. And in the press conference this week, Ryan Day was talking about, rocking back and knocking them off the ball. Buddy, I don't think they can do that against this Tennessee interior. Like, I know a lot of people talked all week or since this game. Well, yeah, Tennessee's defensive line's strong, but it's stronger on the outside, where Michigan's stronger on the inside. Bro, these Tennessee boys on the inside are bad dudes. Like, I was surprised when I watched the All-22. They've got at least 2 deep of big nasties in the middle, like big nasty dudes.
We can call it what it is, Juck. They got some war daddies in there.
Yeah.
They have some absolute war daddies on that D-line.
Yeah.
And I hope they're good enough, and I hope they're so good, so dominant in there that Ryan Day isn't trying to prove anybody he's tough, and just uses our biggest talent gap, and that's our wide receivers.
I 100% believe that is the game plan here. And I don't just think it's that. They have tried to almost artificially slow this offense down all year. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I was most excited about bringing Chip Kelly in was we were at like 61 and a half plays last year, which had been a progressive drop from 2019 through Ryan Day. And more so, I factored in, even with the loss of plays with the new clock rules, like, just consider it, just down. And I'm like, all right, Chip Kelly is going to raise this up. I'm excited. I'd like to see more plays per game. They dropped it even lower, 1 less play than last year. And it feels so artificial, like you're holding back this huge advantage here. I think
they're literally driving a Ferrari in a school zone.
Yeah, this is a very good analogy. And we know that you are the analogy king. But I think that this is the week that how much would it shock Tennessee if they just came out running tempo? They can do it. They got to trust Will to be able to do it. And every time we've seen him in a 2-minute, like, the dude's awesome. He does good when you let him get out there and roll. Quick game, like, he does good with it. I think we're going to see periods of this game where the Buckeyes got Tennessee on their heels, aren't letting them swap out those defensive linemen and just keep it rolling.
I mean, what did Brian say? He said he likes Will Howard to look everybody in the eyes as he's giving him a play call or something like that.
Dude, come on with that, bro. Are you serious? Yeah, sure. Okay. What is this, man? It's a high school movie?
Yeah. It's like that Troy Bolton or Will Howard.
I love extreme weather games, and I think that that the weather, when you're in a stadium and you're all like suffering together in this really bad weather, whether it's rain or like, it's almost like a camaraderie thing.
Yeah.
I think the Tennessee fans are gonna help this be an awesome memory. Like, if anybody's considering going to this game, the tickets are about $100, man. You've got to get there. We got to get to this game. KD, I'm going to talk you into it. I know you're going to be down there. We're going to get there. But
brother, I'll tell you this, Chuck. I do not handle the cold very well. I had I played rugby in the cold, and my fingers used to get so purple and so big, and like my nose would be running, and I'd be crying for hours afterwards. Like not actually crying, but like my eyes just like can't. They just start watering a crazy amount. I would be miserable. I'd be miserable. Juck, I sleep with a space heater on.
A space heater? God,
Yeah,
dude, really do sound like my wife. No,
I every day when I get home, I go get in the sauna. Like I love the heat.
you got a sauna at home.
They do.
Chris has got a sauna at home. His car drives him from Akron to Columbus every morning. This is my guy, man.
I'm just trying to wait a second. I'm trying to be like Juck when I get older. let that be the message.
Look, all logic, KD. Let's put our predictions out here. All logic would lead us to believe that this is going to be a very low-scoring game. And as you know my rule, I fade the public, buddy. I'm going with the over. I'm going Buckeyes 28, Vols 20. We're going over, Buckeyes cover. What do you got?
I got Ohio State 17, Tennessee 13. I have Jaden Fielding, my guy, King of the North, returning
No way.
and hitting like a 38-yarder on a brick football, crushing it. I think it's gonna feel like an NFL low-scoring playoff game.
That would be awesome. Bringing him up, actually, saw our buddy Herbstreit made another comment yesterday on Pardon My Take. I'm going to play here, but I'm bringing it up because I'm not playing that part of it, but he actually brings up Fielding again, talking about the Ohio State fan base, and again called him that poor kicker. That poor kicker. What if he misses a field goal? Dude, that guy's got a job to do, and it's make kicks, man. Like that poor kicker. I didn't see anybody coming after his throat after that game, to be honest. But anyway, here's what he had to say.
Obviously, we're beyond ecstatic for him. I went to senior day for my other son who had a heart situation. He was part of the senior class of the Ohio State players. So it was a family only event this past Sunday. And I went in there really nervous to wonder how the Ohio State coaches, because none of them texted me, hey, congratulations on Chase. I didn't hear anything from anybody. So I was a little bit, should I go? Should I not go? And I went because I needed to be there for my other son. It was a very cool event, by the way. Each position coach would have his guys come up, say something about each guy, and then that guy had to grab the mic and speak in front of all of his teammates and close to the media and the fans. And it was very emotional to watch some of these guys, Trevion Henderson, Emeka Buka, like they've been through some stuff, not only lost it to Michigan, but just personal stuff. So it was very heartfelt day to be there to watch that. But I talked to Chip Kelly afterwards, talked to Ryan Day afterwards. Nobody said anything. It was okay. It was like, okay, I'll be here for, I'll see you next week, Tennessee. Looking forward to it. I'll call you this week. It was just kind of like business mode, you know, and but that's good by me.
Doesn't sound like that's good by you, Kirk. Sounds like he was very offended that nobody gave him a congratulations that his son committed to Michigan. But what is your take when you hear that? He's getting ripped pretty hard.
What a strange guy Herbie is.
Isn't he?
Like he's very I can't tell if he wants Ohio State fans to like him or
hate him. That's it right there. Like you want congratulations and like a lot of people forget that he is a father of a kid on the team right now. That's a thing. Like his son doesn't play, but he is on the team. He was at senior day. And I think that, they were talking to him about Chase. So this wasn't totally out of left field to think that they would congratulate him, right? That's not just crazy to think that they would say congratulations because they
it almost feels like he doesn't want Ohio State fans to like him and then points to like people reacting to things. It's like, look, like, why would I be nice to you guys? Like, you guys don't like me.
Yeah. It's very odd, man. He's
very
a weird
odd guy, man.
He continually inserts himself in these, he keeps putting himself in these situations and then points at like it's weird. It's so strange. But of course, we're all getting blamed for it. It's unbelievable the way people talk about Ohio State fans. Like, I can't stand it. And that's why I can't stand our own fans talking about how toxic we are. Like, it just drives me nuts. Anyway, what are we thinking about SMU heading into Happy Valley? I think that Kevin Jennings, our dude, can put up some points. I think that in the end, we've got a pretty easy Penn State cover here. I just think they're going to run away with this.
I have Penn State by 1,000,000, Joe.
Okay.
I think this team's ready to roll. I have heard some very positive things about how locked in this team is. They feel like they have a really special core group. And Drew Aller, we saw it in the Oregon game, has unlocked more than any Ohio State fan is wanting to really realize. And if you can't see that, you're ignoring it.
I totally agree, dude. How surprised were you that he was coming back?
I guess this is unfair, Chuck, just because of how close I am.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, not surprised at all.
You didn't tell me. You knew this was coming.
I almost knew it was coming. It's funny because I try not to pry for information unless I'm talking like to 2 or 3 people, and the messaging around it, like for months I was hearing, okay, like he's getting really good feedback from the NFL right now. They love his arm, like this down. I'm like, okay, weaker class could go, big playoff thing could go, and then I started hearing portal grumblings, and I sent a text out. And no reply to the text that was asking a couple questions, just a liking of the text. And then it's like, okay, I know what that means, but I don't feel comfortable running with it because it's just a like message. But no, not surprised. Drew Aller, I think, has a shot to be quarterback 1 next year.
Where do you think he would have been this year? I mean, he was trending first round, right?
I think he would have been quarterback 3 or 4, maybe.
I don't know, man. Most people come out in that scenario, right?
Yeah, most people do, unless you've got a legitimate shot to be the number 1 overall pick next year. And I know from Ohio State fans that have only watched him against Michigan and Ohio State, that's gonna be like, oh my God, like what did he just say? And then I'm gonna stop and remind you, Trey Lance was drafted number 2 overall. Or Zach Wilson was drafted number 2 overall.
Am I just out on the general vibe of Drew Aller? Like I think is it just that because of my opinion of him is higher than most, that I feel like, are there a lot of people that knock him?
Our general opinion on Drew Aller is significantly higher than if you were to scroll on Twitter and talk to fan bases about like other fan bases don't respect Drew Aller because the most watched games for him were the Ohio State game last year and the Michigan game last year, both against top 3 defenses in the entire country, and he struggled. And then people watched him against Ohio State this year and think, oh, the offense didn't move, he must stink. But he throws, like, in terms of like NFL traits, he puts some balls on tape that are outrageous.
For sure.
The interception that Igbinosun caught, that was a great throw.
Mm-hmm.
Like a great throw. And against Oregon, we saw him move a little bit and throw on the move, and that checks a lot of boxes. I think general consent, like I think me saying he could be the number 1 overall pick next year would be a wildly hot take, but I firmly believe that.
Oh, okay. That doesn't even sound like a hot take to me. So, okay. All right. I guess I was out on what the general consensus was on him.
Unless I'm just too far in the Penn State haters club and because
when we before we move on to the other 2 games, I want to talk about this transfer portal for a bit when it comes to the Buckeyes here.
Right.
You bring in Daniels, the offensive lineman, Paris Johnson's cousin, out of Cincinnati. I love it. Kid started at Minnesota 4 games last year, played in all 12, being penciled in as the right tackle quickly, right off the rip, ahead of Ian Moore, which I don't know why that's thought that he's just going to pass up Ian Moore. Ian Moore in the same class, a very talented, much more highly regarded recruit. But there's been some spin here that this is somehow the ideal strategy when there's a kid who might be a cusp Ohio State offer. I should have thought they should have brought him in back then.
Yeah.
That it's better to let him go get some experience somewhere else, and then bring him back, as if you're just guaranteed to be the one that gets to bring him back. I think this was 100% a miss. Why would you not have a kid in your system? You only had a 3-man offensive line class that year.
Right.
That just seems like some serious spin to me. What's your take on that?
It is serious spin. I'm a big believer in numbers too. Like if you take as many numbers as possible and you really believe in competition and developing guys, you take those guys out of high school, especially for numbers wise. I mean, like I think when Joe Alt started his recruiting journey, it was like a 3-star tight end that ended up kind of climbing up the ranks because offensive linemen are so hard to project. I think any kid that's a fringe kid from Ohio, you take, and I would like to see Ohio State take like 6 linemen a year. Like take the project.
Absolutely.
Like take project kids.
Don't you trust your development more than somebody else's? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't get this theory at all.
It's like if you are believe that the theory is go somewhere else and get some game reps, and then we'll pay a premium price or we'll pay more for you to come back, then boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Like what is that? What does that even mean?
Right. When we look at the Big Ten right now, regarding the transfer portal, Oregon went out and got the number 1 tackle and the number 5 tackle in the portal. They went and got the number 1 safety that we were after. We were after the number 1 tackle as well. Dude, they're beating us down, man. It's been like 75% of the battles that they've won between Ohio State and Oregon, dating back to last transfer portal class, the 2025 recruiting class, and now this portal class. It's starting to hurt, and it's starting to get really concerning.
It's so important optically for us to beat Tennessee and then beat Oregon.
I
It's
agree.
so important optically.
I totally agree.
Like this, because I don't want it to get to a place where it's like I can go to Ohio State, but I could go to Oregon. Like I don't want that to be kind of how the offer sheet goes. Because right now, those Oregon offers or like those like Dan Lanning calling you on the phone feels like a Willy Wonka chocolate bar golden ticket, and I don't want it to feel like that. Like I need Ohio State to notch a win over them for the sake of, and maybe not changing the tide, but certainly slowing it down.
There is a thought that that Ohio State and the other playoff teams that are playing this week are in a massive disadvantage with the portal. And we can see our buddy William McBride, this is an Oregon fan, saying Oregon having a bye week really benefited for the portal. But I just want to point out that as it currently stands, Dabo Swinney has signed more portal guys than Ohio State. And he's playing at Texas this week. He's a guy who's never signed a portal guy before. This is a ridiculously slow start from the Buckeyes as we look around college football. And it's somewhat concerning. And I got a theory, KD. We know their approach when it comes to recruiting out of high school. And that approach is for 80% of the guys, this is what we have to offer as Ohio State. Our NFL record speaks for itself. You can come here and get the best development. You could be in Columbus. And if you think you are the player that you think you are, and we think you are going to earn that NIL money. But here's what we're paying, and we're not haggling about it. Right. If you want to walk. That's their approach for 80%. Your superstars are a little different. But for that 80%, like that works. It's a formula that's worked for them. And they're going with that same mindset into the portal. And when we look at Quentin Joyner, a kid from USC that they really wanted, the kid just signed with Texas Tech. Like these portal kids want contracts. That's what they're doing. And this thing that you're playing with the 17-year-olds isn't working. It's not working at all. They need to come up with the money. Like the money's there. I don't it's almost like this pride thing. Like we're Ohio State. That needs to mean something to you or we don't want you. And sometimes you got to swallow your pride or your opponent is going to reap the benefits of your hardline stance. I'm glad you felt good about yourself that you took your hardline stance, but the other guys just got better and you didn't.
It feels like, and I see this in baseball a lot, it feels like instead of adjusting their stances, well, we got the block O. Yes. We don't have to adjust. Like y'all got to adjust. We don't have to adjust because we got the block O. And then you run into the issue with that curved O over there, the non-block O. They're adjusting. They have money and they have brand power right now. And
apparently Texas Tech does too, bro.
You said what?
Apparently Texas Tech does too. They got the number 1 portal class. Like, and I think that just speaks to the mindset of these guys. A lot of them that are entering the portal.
I mean, shoot, Chuck. Like, think about. Like it's you got to view it through like a career lens, right?
Yeah.
Like
there's a lot of these guys, if they know they're not going to the NFL or they know they're not going to be a fringe NFL player, this is their one shot. Like this is it.
You're telling me I can clear 6 figures this year and be the feature guy? Like that Blocko is not going to put food on that Blocko is not going to put Jordans on my feet or put food on the table in 3 or 4 years. Like
Jordans on my feet. Hey, I got a question. There is Daniels had a video, and it was like a little bio video that he had on Instagram, and I cut it up, and he has this, and I put what did he say? Gospel. He has a gospel music superstition, and he wanted to be like Chase Young when he was younger.
Yeah, I saw that.
But the third part was, and I didn't put this in the description because I didn't know anything about it, but he also likes black Air Force Ones, and everybody was commenting about that black Air Force Ones. Now, I don't know what that means. What is the significance of that?
All right, Jack. Step into the culture class, I guess.
Bring me in, bro. Bring me in.
Black Air Force Ones represents an energy in the world that is like for the real crash outs. And you're like, what is a crash out?
Yeah,
I want
exactly.
you to think about like the attitude. If a black Air Force reincarnated into a person, it would be George Pickens. Just like someone who's like the dog of all dogs.
Okay.
Like, all gas, no brakes, beat you down, lead with violence. It's like the guy on the basketball court that's not really going to score a lot of points, but he's a shorter guy, but he's going to grab 25 rebounds.
Okay.
That's
I'm
like,
with you.
Black Air Force, like Juck, if someone like if you know someone walks in to go rob a bank and they have black Air Force Ones, don't even ask to see the gun, just hand them the money.
Okay.
Like, that's what it represents.
All right.
Last year, Ohio State kind of tapped into it a little bit. I don't know if you remember. For the Missouri game, they tried to like get the energy up, and they gave all the players black Air Force Ones.
Stop it. How did I miss this story? Maybe I saw it. I had no idea what it meant.
Well, it's not very mainstream, but yeah, black Air Force Ones represent like that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the layman's terms of it.
So it's a good thing that the kid likes black Air Force Ones. I love it. Also,
yeah, like it represents like a nastiness.
Yeah. All right. I'm with it. Indiana, bro. You've been an Indiana homer all year.
I have.
They're heading into South Bend, and I've got mixed emotions on this game. Part of me, I think a lot of this depends on how people feel the game at Ohio State played out. I personally feel like it was a little bit more of a beatdown than some feel. Some feel that those two special teams errors are what got that away. I think Ohio State was going to score on both of those possessions anyway.
Right.
But that's what I think hinges on this, as to how good you think Indiana is going to compete against Notre Dame. But I've gone back and forth, and I do believe that Notre Dame is going to win this game, but it's going to be very tight. I think that's my final call. I'm taking Indiana and the points, but I think Notre Dame wins.
I got Notre Dame by 10. I just think they're too good.
By 10? That surprises me. I thought you were going to go with Indiana here.
No. I want to go with Indiana, but the more I looked into it to build a case for Indiana, the more I realized Notre Dame's real deal. Like very, very efficient on offense. They know what they want to do. Freeman's learned from his mistakes. I mean, Juck, I would pick Notre Dame to beat Georgia today.
Bro, I listen. We're going to pick our winners, our national championship game. And I'm just going to do it now. I think Penn State is coming out of that side of the bracket.
Yeah, I do too.
Do you?
Yep, absolutely. It'll be a Big Ten natty.
I agree. That's where I'm going. I think this is going to be Penn State, Oregon for the national championship. I think it's a rematch of the Big Ten championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go with Penn State winning the national championship. That's where I'm going with this.
A James Franklin national title?
I think it's going to happen.
Would be a great way to cap off the year.
That's just what I'm feeling, man. I don't want to feel that way, but it's just what I'm feeling when I look at this field.
Who would you rather see win a natty? James Franklin or Dan Lanning?
Oh, James Franklin by a mile.
James Franklin or Marcus Freeman?
James Franklin by a mile.
James Franklin or Kirk?
Marcus is dead to me, bro.
Dead to you?
Until he apologizes, he's dead to me.
He's gonna apologize by beating Michigan as the Ohio State coach in 2028.
Then I love him again. Everything, where all systems go if he comes home.
Onward.
Absolutely. But no, man, I'm just when you look at the first 2 games Penn State's got, it's just a walkthrough, bro. It's a walkthrough, and then they go play a wounded Georgia or a Notre Dame team that was able to eke by Georgia and get the crap beat out of them on the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Penn State waltzes through that side of the bracket. I really do.
No, James Franklin's going to a natty, and it's going to be crazy. He's going to have to go. He's going to be owed some apologies from me, too. I'm about to scrub the internet of all my James Franklin hate.
No, but you were right. Every time you were right. All right. So the last game, Clemson and Dabo heading into Austin, and it seems like this line's just growing, man. I thought it was at 12 points now. Surprised me. The Texas defense is an amazing defense. There's no doubt about it. But you got some really good storylines here, man. Klubnik and Ewers went against each other in the state championship in Texas. Klubnik was a ballyhooed recruit, sucked forever, and this year, like, it's coming around. The dude looks really good lately. Wesco's coming around, their freshman wide receiver. We saw the way they quick put up points early on in that ACC championship game. I think this is going to be a very competitive game, and I don't feel like Dabo gets the respect that he deserves. Granted, he's an easy target, but he's a good coach, and he's an experienced coach in moments like these, much more than Sark. I think this is going to be a close one. I do think Texas is going to win. I'm going chalk all the way through the first round, but outside of the Penn State game, I think they're all going to be pretty close. But I'm going with Texas. I'm taking Clemson in the points.
All right, bro. Hold on. Let me check this. See, no one can hear me. I have Clemson money line.
I love it. I love it. No, honestly, like, some people are going to say you're crazy. I love it. I don't think it's outlandish. I'm sure the chat's going to think you're crazy. I'm trying not to read.
Klubnik never loses to Quinn Ewers. Never. He beat him down in Texas. Texas was Klubnik's dream school. They competed in the Elite 11 right afterwards. Guess what Klubnik did?
Beat him
down again.
Mm-hmm.
I got Clemson money line. So obviously, like, give me Clemson with the points.
Yeah, for sure.
Fucking Pat just showed up, bro. Freaking
What's
Pat.
up, Pat?
Free money.
Free. He's
free
with
money.
you too.
Sorry for cussing, Juck.
Hey, it happens. It happens. All right, brother. I appreciate you so much. Hey, we got a live show tomorrow. Tell them about the live show, bro.
Yeah, live show. Yogi at 10 o'clock. I'll be there. So be there or be square, especially if you're coming for the game. Stop by, say hello, take a picture, hang out, have some nachos. I don't know if you're a nacho guy, Chuck. I do. You like nachos, right, Chuck?
Yeah, absolutely. Who doesn't like nachos?
What's your stance on spicy food?
Listen, this is an evolution of the Juckster, man. I couldn't handle it all my life until I was about 38. Started liking it a little bit, and now I'm a maniac. I go all the way in.
Juck, aren't you like 35?
45, but thank you, buddy.
I was just saying you look young. Take the compliment. So, Pat, there's still hope for you. Pat hates – so me and Pat share nachos, pause, and usually – so if I'm being thoughtful, I'll ask for the jalapenos on the side because Pat can't handle the jalapenos.
Too much heat. Can't do it.
Got you. I feel you, buddy. I was with you when I was your age.
Yeah.
There's hope. There's hope.
There's hope. Justin, there's hope. There's hope. Also, Jug, I just want to say, dude, I like seeing you on Paige Show made my year. I don't even care what happened Saturday. You made my year.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much. That was awesome, man. It couldn't have happened without you, man. You're a great, pal. I love you.
Good man.
All right. Talk to you later, buddy.
Yep. Peace.
Have a good one. And that was our buddy KD. Always here to join us on a big time College Football Friday. We got some super chats to get to. Our buddy Jimmy Jackson. What's up, Jimmy? Hey, Juck, our portal misses are making me nervous. The lack of O and D line recruiting has been concerning. Anyway, you think we land Justice Haynes. Congrats on the Pate spot. Well deserved. Thank you so much, buddy. It was certainly it was pretty wild seeing myself on there. I'll tell you. But the portal misses, like I talked about with the strategy, I think some things need to change. And the good news is when you see something isn't working, you still have the ability to change it. There's plenty of time left. It's not like everybody's off the board. There's quite a few guys that have come off the board, but they've got time to adjust it, and they will, because it's a necessity, right? It's a necessity to get some more offensive linemen in. It's a necessity now to get some safety help in. Like, they've got areas that they just have to get people in, and they will. Justice Haynes, I don't think it's going to go our way. The most recent running back that they've pivoted to, I think, is he's an Army running back, and I'll put him in the next show. Running back from Army who entered the transfer portal, who's pretty good. And this was my fear, and I talked about this before. Like, I didn't want them going to get just some average running back who has experience to pair with Peoples and hold back these freshman studs, because I believe they're the truth. When we talk about Bo Jackson and we talk about Isaiah West, like, I think they're just the truth. And I don't care about having a young backfield. Like, I'm good with it. But my fear was they're going to bring in some average guy. Then, talking to Joyner, talking to Haynes, I'm like, oh, okay. If we're talking this caliber guy, I'm good with it. Let's go. But I don't think we're gonna get one of those caliber guys now. So now I'm back to my original stance. I'd rather not even have one. I'd rather just roll with what we got. So we'll see what happens. But I'm not so worried about it. They'll pivot, buddy. We'll get it. Yo, Juck, what are your thoughts on the Tennessee linebackers in the pass game versus our wide receivers back in the backside of the backfield? I think it's a massive advantage that we haven't heard many talk about. I totally agree with you. And I think this is what we're going to see a lot of. Quick screens. We're going to see Trey. We're going to see Quinn on the edges. Their linebackers are very, very average when we look at their defense. I think they stand out as the weak spot of their defense. And I totally agree with you. I think that's great insight. Mika, I think our wide receivers go off in the playoffs, especially JJ, and our tight ends will be key in both blocking and passing. Absolutely. And those tight ends are definitely going to need to assist in blocking when we talk about the beasts they got on the edge, including James Pierce, their best defensive player, total stud. But more than that, he's the body type and the type of edge who has given Fryer and Donovan issues this year. They're okay with the bigger body types. They're okay with the Jack kind of guy, Jack Sawyer. I mean, they're not good with these type of guys, these long, slender, bendy dudes. The kid from Marshall, Green, absolutely tore Fryer up. Abdul Carter tore Donovan Jackson up. Like, those tight ends, particularly Christian Bennett, who's really coming along to be an excellent blocker. They're going to need to help with that. But good comment, Mika. James says Texas is going to stomp the heck out of Clemson. Clemson doesn't even belong there. So he is countering Chris's point, does not believe in Clem Donkey. I think Clem Donkey keeps it close. Gorky, Butthead beats Bobby Hill. Butthead beats Bobby Hill. Butthead beats Bobby Hill. I don't know what that means, Gorky. Is this a Chris analogy? This must be one of Chris's analogies. Buck Vader says, Juck, why do we keep Tegra in? I think the plan is, and this is Ryan Day was essentially, I don't know he was questioned about this, basically like, listen, RD, Tegra's been the issue. Why is it that Luke's coming in at left guard? And RD said, I think it's a valid question, but then he didn't answer the question, which, he's got an answer for the question. I don't know what it is. There could be other things at play here. We got to think, if we're the coach of the team, what could potentially be a different issue that is in play here? Maybe it's a transfer portal risk. You want to keep him in the fold. So you want to give him the start. And then when he's not playing good and knows he's not playing good, you say, okay, we're going to have to make this swap. There could be other issues at play. I don't know. But it is clear to the staff that Tegra has not been playing well. That's for sure. So there's something going on there that we don't know 100% why. But, we'll see what happens. The Duck Knight says Ryan Day is going to call out Dolly Parton if Ohio State wins. Dolly Parton, a famous Tennessee fan, right? She loves the balls. I love Dolly Parton. Have ever since I was a teenage boy. Bucks Forever says, I don't want Vrabel personally. I get it. I get it that some people want to talk about Vrabel's NFL record and say that it's not been great. And maybe you don't want a coach who the thing about Braves is, number one, he's a legend. Number two, he loves Ohio State more than anybody could. He totally understands it. We've seen him have success at the highest. I mean, he was a successful NFL coach. Success is, varying ways to be successful. Like winning a Super Bowl isn't the only thing. And that's why I can't stand judging college football programs just on national championships. Like there are varying degrees of success. I consider him a successful NFL coach in a short period of time. I think if we saw, 15 years, I think there would be a lot more success. I think that he would not be the greatest choice, but if they hired him, man, I would go ballistic. I would love it. I don't know how long-term he would be dedicated to it, because I think he's the type that puts so much into it, he just gets burned out. And that's the way he looked at the end of his tenure at Tennessee. He just looked burned the hell out. And, but at the same time, I think as we look at programs on Ohio State's level moving forward, we're really only looking at head coaches in this profession sticking around 7 years. Like there's a shelf life on this that there wasn't before. We're no longer going to see these 20-year coaches. Like that's just a thing of the past because there's so much involved in this job. These guys age like presidents in these jobs, dude. And I don't know if we should start factoring that in when we're thinking about this, because my thought is Vrabel's going to burn himself out. And, if 5 to 7 years might be the standard looking forward in the next 25 years that we see. So maybe I should worry about that less. But I'll tell you this, man, the program would be in good hands. It wouldn't go backwards. I know that for sure. Lisa says, I'm conflicted. I think they can beat Tennessee, but after that Michigan game, it has caused doubts if they really can. I believe they can if they play their game and not what is best for Tennessee, which I think is what everybody wishes they would have done last week. And I got to tell you, I don't think that there is any chance these guys would possibly come in and play into Tennessee's hands after what happened last week. Like if you did that, you would just have to be like brain dead. And I just can't see them doing that. There was a whole lot of emotion going into why Ryan Day and the staff did what they did in the game. And I'm sure that they've sat down with themselves many a times and recognized that, and that it was a big error. And they're certainly dealing with the repercussions of that big error. Our buddy Troy, I love that term, effeminate orange. My balls loving friend hung up on me for calling him effeminate yesterday. Tell him I'm sorry. Bucks Forever says it will take Bjork to order Day to get rid of him. Day will not fire his best friend on his own. No, I totally agree. I don't think. Look, if you lose this game to Tennessee, I almost guarantee that there will be orders from headquarters that, okay, you got to shake things up here. And Day's, Fry's the guy. Like, even if it's just a fallout guy, like that's the obvious choice on the staff. If you got to sell something to the public, that's the easiest way. That's how they do it, Well, he got rid of this guy and to build back trust. And it would be fair, 100%. What's up, Posh? Posh says, Juck, to be fair, some Buckeyes are toxic. They're on the Homer show. Without a doubt. But here's the difference. Ohio State, the biggest fan base in the country. If Alabama and Tennessee have 15% of toxic people in their fan base, that number in Ohio State has 15. Like ours are just going to be bigger. That's a bigger number. There's more people that are toxic because our 15% is bigger than everybody else's. I guess the issue I have is trying to act like it is uniquely toxic. However, I will say it is uniquely demanding. And the reason that Ohio State has never had a period of bad football in a lot of ways is because the administration at Ohio State has always known throughout the years that the Ohio State fan base will not accept mediocrity. and they stay on their toes and they make moves fast and they don't allow malaise to set in because the fan base won't allow it. So a lot of the success over the years is because of the community that we have around Ohio State football. And when we see the influx of social media, we get to see everybody's voices all of a sudden. But keep in mind, those voices you're looking at, those dedicated Ohio State Twitter account, fan accounts, that's us, man. That's the 0.002. That's the psycho set, right? We are the psycho set. We're the all-in people. Like this is our year. We talk about this all year. We are such a small fraction of the Ohio State fan base in totality, like such a small part of the group. So to call out the fan base, when we're really talking about the psycho set, yeah, we're psycho. There's probably more of us that are higher percentage of psycho. I get it. Scarlet and Blue says, I don't believe fans are consistent. It's always easy to say, fire this guy, and then what? There isn't a Saban or anyone of note that's going to come in and knock down that door. So there comes a point where you are either of your mind that I don't see an obvious candidate, so I'm not okay with it. And then there comes a line in the sand where you say, okay, I've had enough. I trust in the people who do that to do their job and go get the person. Because let's not act like the only successful college football coaches are ones that are already established as the best of the best. There are guys who are below that come up and become that. And we've seen evidence that has happened just this year. You look at a Kurt Cignetti, you look at a Mike Elko. Texas A&M's got their dude. They're about to be a force. These are two guys that were coaching at James Madison and Duke last year. So if you trust in your administration, or if you are just at your wit's end with the current staff, you are ready to take the dive. Now, there will come a time where you get your line crossed. I don't know where your line is, but we all have a line where it's for us personally, like, okay, I'm ready to trust the powers that be, that they're going to get it right because I'm done with this. And what's happened here is a lot of people have had their line crossed, and a lot of people, I would say more, have 1 foot over each end of the line, and they can be bought back in this postseason. And I hope that they are, and I hope that the Bucks bust some heads tomorrow night, and I can't wait, and I'm going to be there, and I hope as many of you as possible are there too, because this is about pride now. This is about pride. This is about pride and being an Ohio State fan. The whole country is watching us. The entire country, all eyes on us. We're the last playoff game, standalone. So many people are picking Tennessee to come in here and upset us. The Tennessee fans talking all this shit. Like, we got to get this done, and we got to represent. Pride's on the line. Let's get there. I'll be there. You guys are the best. I appreciate you. The post-game show will be probably an hour and a half late, but I'm going to pop on for the post-game show because if you're anything like me, after a big game, win or lose, you stay up late and you watch everything and either fall asleep grumpy and pissed off or happy and celebrating. So I will come on. I'll be live from my son's apartment down at Dublin, but it's going to take me a while to get. I'm going back right after the game to get on. So I will see you guys after the game. I may try to pop on for 5 minutes before the game from the stadium, but turn your alarm bells on. Subscribe to Menace and Juckonbucks. If you subscribe to Juckonbucks, those alarms will tell you when I go live. But we're gonna have a blast, man. We're gonna have a blast. Bucks are gonna win this game. Let's get it. I'll talk to you guys soon. Juckonbucks out. Hey, it's Juck.
Juck.
Who is Juck?
Juckonbucks.
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 My guy Juck. Juckonbucks.
My buddy Juck.
Juck is the Juck.
It's Juckonbucks. Okay.
Juck is junk.
The Juck eyes.
The Juck eyes.
Juckonbucks.
Junk. Juck. Not junk. Juck.